Hi everyone, my name is Ali Ehsan. I am registered migration agent at Aussizz Group. I'll be discussing latest updates of state and regional nomination requirements for NSW. I'll be starting session now. Just before I start the session, I would just like to inform you that we have got some really attractive giveaways for you. That includes uh, free PT coaching for 2 months, free CCL training, free PR consultation. So in order to get those giveaways, you can give us a shout out by going into the link provided in the chat box and then going there and tag at Aussizz Group and Aussizz Conclave 2022. So we will be giving there will be giveaways for people who do that. So let's get started. Today, the topic of discussion is NSW nomination requirements. Of course, it includes regional and state nomination requirements for NSW 190 and 491. I'll be covering 190 visa, 491, and how to apply if you want to go with these visas in NSW. Now, here are a few of my details. So I'm registered migration agent at Aussizz Group. My name is Ali Ehsan. My email ID and my contact numbers are here. So starting with, so what are regional areas? Now I'll come to that part as well. But as I said, so today's topic is specifically about NSW. I'm discussing that. So if you have any questions related to that, please listen to my presentation carefully. You will get answers to most of the questions in my presentation. And if something is not answered, I will be happy to take questions at the end. Now, 190 and 491 both are part of skilled migration program. Now, for skilled migration, first thing, as if you have been attending sessions, so I'll just give you a recap. So for skilled migration, first thing you need is skills assessment, and your occupation has to be on the nominated states or regions list to be sponsored for 190 and 491. Now, I will start with regional visas, and first I'll just discuss. So I get this question many times that what are regional areas? So regional areas are generally locations which are outside of major cities. So in case of NSW, we are talking about outside of Sydney, basically. So regional areas are divided into generally three categories. So all areas except Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane are categorized as regional areas. There are city and major regional centers, and there are regional centers and other regional areas. But for the purpose of today's meeting, so if you are living outside of Sydney, uh, let's say so for example, someone who is living in Gosford or Newcastle, Wollongong, or any other region, they are considered to be living in regional areas. Okay. Now, there are certain benefits of residing in NSW regional areas or NSW, studying in Sydney as well, but specifically regional areas do give you some additional benefit. One of them is, of course, you have affordable cost of living. There you have more PR pathways, which I'm going to discuss. And then you get extra points towards your 190 or 491 application if you have studied there. You can get 3 to 4 years of postgraduate visa rather than 2 to 3 years. And of course, life quality is it's more relaxing. It's not that busy like Sydney or other big cities are. Now, jumping to towards the requirement of explaining you what 491 visa is and what are the some of the requirements in NSW. Now, before I get into that, I want to give you a disclaimer here that all the criteria that I'm going to discuss are for last financial year. NSW government has not updated their website, or they have not updated the criteria for this financial year yet. The financial year has started recently, so from 1st July. We are still waiting to hear from NSW. We hope, and as per their website, they will be announcing those criteria soon. Now, generally, with my experience, I can say that we might have updated criteria by end of this month or by early next month, but it all depends on state allocation and how soon states get allocation from federal government. So the criterias that I'm going to discuss over here are for the past, and I will also give my insight. What do I think uh, is likely to happen with my experience, and what possible options can be there in NSW in future. So in NSW, how the process work is for 491, you have to nominate at least one stream under which you want to apply for 491. Now, for each stream, requirements are different. So there are total 3 streams. Now, stream 1 is for people who are living and working in regional NSW. Now, you should have skills assessment. As I discussed earlier, skills assessment is required for skilled migration. And there is a list that NSW will update soon. So, most generally, there are many occupations on stream 1 list. If you have occupation on that list, then second requirement is that you must be living and working in your nominated occupation in regional NSW for at least 12 months. Now, work experience requirement is 20 hours per week. So if you're working 20 hours per week in your nominated occupation or closely related occupation, you can qualify. Now, I have got this question many times from my clients that what are closely related occupations? So closely related occupations are which fall under same NSW unit group. Now, for example, someone is mechanical engineer, production engineer, or industrial engineer is a closely related occupation for them. So, and if someone is accountant, management accountant, taxation accountant, accountant general, they are all closely related occupations. But if someone is working as, for example, at a lower level, let's say they're accounts clerk, that is not generally considered to be a closely related occupation. So you must be working for 12 months. Now, NSW, this was the published criteria, but if you had 3 years, 3 months of experience at least, you are still eligible to submit your ROI under stream 1. You can still be eligible under stream 1. That's what NSW was accepting the whole last financial year. So, but of course, preference is given to those who have 12 months. Stream 2 is for applicants who have recently completed their studies in regional NSW. Again, skills assessment is necessary because that's the first criteria, and your study has to be completed in past 24 months from regional NSW. Now, if someone has completed studies from Wollongong and they live there for 2 years, yes, they can be eligible. But there are certain requirements that you must be eligible to claim points for studying in regional. Okay. And your qualification must be assessed as closely related to your nominated occupation. Now, the second criteria is the most critical one. Now, for example, if an applicant is an engineer, let's say mechanical engineer, and they have studied, for example, Masters of Accounting from regional university, and they have skills assessment as a mechanical engineer, they will not qualify. But yes, if they have skills assessment as accountant, they can qualify. So study has to be assessed as closely related to your nominated occupation by relevant skills assessing authority. So that's the most important part. And other thing is you have 24 months from the date you complete your study. So if someone has completed studies from regional and they have lived there for whole 2 years, so living requirement is also there, then you can be eligible under stream 2. Now, stream 3 has been the one where a lot of applicants applied last year, and that's the most competitive stream that we have seen. The requirement, there are no such requirements for stream 3. The only requirement was that your occupation has to be on preferred regions occupation list, and you should be holding a valid skills assessment. Now, if it doesn't matter where you are living, you can qualify under stream 3. Now, this is the requirement again for last financial year. We don't have updated requirements for coming financial year yet. Now, at the end, I'll give you my insight to it, what I think will be happening. But this is something that NSW has been offering in last financial year. Now, one thing is that if you ask, in my opinion, stream 1 is likely to stay because it's more practical, and we have seen many invites under stream 1, even for applicants who just completed 3 months of residence and work experience in regional. Same with stream 2, it's very attractive to recent graduates and people who are studying there. So, and we have seen that stream 2, and I think that stream 2 will stay there as well in one form or another. Now, regarding Stream 3, we have seen different updates, and because it has been really competitive, there have been a lot of registration of interests under Stream 3. So it has been a lot more competitive. And we have seen many instances where applicants with similar profiles, and one person did get invite and other applicant did not get an invite. So with Stream 3, it's highly competitive. I expect that there might be few changes under Stream 3, and NSW might bring something similar to what ACT, Tasmania, or Queensland has in terms of small business. But as that's just my opinion or prediction. Now, coming towards the process, so I have been explaining you about what that is. So now for 491, again, it's by invitation only. So how it goes is you have to meet basic eligibility criteria. You have to lodge an expression of interest in skill select. Then you have to submit registration of interest during a submission window. Now, last year there were 4 submission windows: August, October, January, and March. Okay, so you can only submit one ROI in one window. You submit that, then you are invited to apply. Once you are invited to apply, you have to apply to RDA office of your preferred region, of course, and you have to do that within 14 days of being invited. Once they approve, you will receive an invitation to lodge visa application. So this process is very important. Now, this can stay same or this can change, but lodging EOI, receiving invite from RDA or NSW, and then lodging, so few things will be same. Okay. Now, what can be changed here is maybe that, maybe you might have to apply directly to NSW state government rather than RDA, but at least till now, NSW is relying on RDAs, basically. Okay. Now, so please note down the steps if you haven't, and then if you have any questions in these, you can ask at the end. Now, processing times so once you are invited, you lodge visa application. That's when you pay department's fee this has been updated now. So last year it was 4115. Now, generally, application processing times are it will vary across different occupations, but currently it has been around, 75% of applications are being assessed within 22 months. Now, once you have the visa, this visa allows you to stay in Australia for 5 years, but you have certain conditions on this visa. You cannot live or work outside of designated regional area of Australia. So you cannot live or work in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, for example, because they are not regional areas. You can travel from Australia. No, again, that's the doubt that many people have. That can they travel? Yes, they can travel while they are holding 491, but they must be residing in region. They cannot maintain residence in cities like Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane. And it allows you to apply for permanent residency after 3 years, which is subclass 191. So this is just the process, how it goes step by step. And once you get the visa, what that visa will be. Now, as I discussed previously as well about the 4 submission windows. So last year they were August, October, January, and March. And the requirement is you can only submit one ROI. So you cannot submit more than one ROI in one window. Now, again, there is another question being asked from applicants that if you have multiple occupations, can you lodge two ROIs? Answer is no. So it is one ROI per person, not per occupation. Okay, unless something is changed for next financial year. So we have to really weigh out which occupation will be better in that way. So there are many applicants who have maybe like developer programmer skills assessment, software engineer, or business analyst. They have multiple assessments, but then you can only lodge one ROI, which means you can only nominate one occupation. So you have to choose that very carefully because sometimes few occupations will be in high demand in certain RDAs. Now that can only be explained. We can, tell you on the basis of our experience that which occupation might be better for you. Now, as I said, you are invited once you've submitted ROI, you are invited by RDA, and then you lodge your application to RDAs. Now, if you are not invited, in one round, you have to submit ROI again in next submission window. So same ROI will not continue to next window. So that's a very important point to note. So if you, for example, you lodged an ROI in August and you were not invited, you should lodge different ROI in October. And even still, if you're not invited, you should lodge another one in January and March. So that was the trend last year. So when you are registering your interest, so again, NSW has published certain guidelines because of a lot, and because of the fact that NSW received a lot of registration of interests in last financial year, they made some very strict guidelines around registration of interest. So you have to clearly indicate which region you want to apply in. You have to make sure you apply under one stream for one occupation for one region. Okay. So again, as I said in last page previously as well, that you can only submit one ROI. Now you have to, it is your responsibility to make sure all information is correct. If you are invited on an information which was not correct. So mostly we have seen applicants, they lodged ROI, they claimed wrong points, like they claimed 5 extra points, for example. Now those kind of applications will be rejected by NSW. Now so if you, so because it's automatic, so it's online system, you can submit more than one ROI, but if you do, then your ROI will automatically be removed and you will not be invited on any ROI. So you have to make sure you keep note of that. Now you cannot withdraw your registration of interests once you have submitted those. And if you are invited on those, then you lose your chance, to, so let's say if you have lodged one ROI and you know that it's wrong, then you should not proceed with that invitation, but it cannot be withdrawn or amended. Now, if you do not intend to, this was an important point that NSW added last year, basically, that if you do not intend to apply for 491, then don't lodge your ROI, because a lot of applicants, they have good points, they are eligible for 190, but they still want to keep all their options open and they do lodge ROI for 491. Now, although they are not interested in it, they just submit it. Now, NSW discourages that, and the way they do it is that if you are invited on ROI, you cannot then be eligible, you'll not be eligible to submit or be invited on another ROI for minimum period of 12 months. So you have to be, once you are lodging ROI, you have to be sure that yes, if you are invited, you can apply for 491. If you are having a second thought about it, you can consult your nearest office, one of or migration consultants or migration agents will be able to assist you with that, what will be the best strategy for you. But do not submit it if you do not intend to apply. Now, submitting ROIs under any stream, including stream 1, is not a guarantee that you will be invited to apply. So stream 1, although is being given preference, but it's not a guarantee that you will receive invite under any of the streams. But generally what we have seen is most of the applicants who lodged ROIs under stream 1 were invited in first couple of rounds. But after that, in January and March, the number of invites got reduced, and that was mostly because of the fact that most of the regions met their they met their allocated seats. And but make sure that if you are lodging ROI in under stream 1 or any stream, you are eligible for that and you intend to go for it. Now, some people do try to contact NSW regions or RDAs or NSW government, but they have clearly indicated that they do not prioritize ROIs on the basis of any reason, and you should not contact them for ROI. So that was all about 190, 491. Now we'll be going for 190 now. So now 190 visa is a permanent visa, which can be sponsored by different states. It's a state-sponsored permanent visa, so different states can issue sponsorship on for 190, but you have to meet requirements of a particular state in order to be sponsored. Now, in this case, we are talking about NSW 190. Okay, so I'll be discussing NSW requirement again. I want to let everyone know that these are not updated requirements. NSW did not update their requirements yet for this financial year. We are expecting them to update that maybe by end of this month or early next month. That is what has happened in last financial years as well. So until that happens, we cannot tell you what will be the scenario in next financial year. These are the requirements that NSW had until now. So most of the requirements generally remain same. There are some changes around occupation list. There are some changes around experience criteria and residency rules, etc. But generally, we have seen from years, so few requirements are changed every year. So you have to wait for that, but I'll discuss what were there in the past and what do I expect in future. So minimum eligibility is that you must be eligible for 190 visa and you can submit EOI, which means you should have at least 60 points of your own for subclass 190, and you should have valid skills assessment, and that occupation should be on the NSW's occupation list. Now, for onshore candidates and offshore. So as most of you will be aware that Australia's borders were closed for a good 19-20 months. So and then they opened it late last year, and then NSW at that time started sponsoring offshore candidates as well. Now at that time NSW did update their list and some of the requirements, but these are the last known requirements. So if you are residing onshore in Australia, you must be either currently residing in, so you must be currently residing in NSW. So you cannot apply for NSW 190 if you are not living in NSW. First part. If you are living in NSW, you must be living in NSW for past 3 months, or you are employed in a long-term capacity in NSW in your nominated occupation for minimum 20 hours per week. No, there is no such definition for this long-term capacity or this, but generally, if you ask me, you should have, a contract, maybe 6 months or 1 year contract, or you should be able to prove that that job is genuine, it will exist. Now, if you are working and you are living here genuinely for 3 months, you generally meet this requirement. But if someone is not genuinely residing in NSW, they will not meet this requirement for 190. So you must be residing in NSW for onshore applicants. Now for offshore, you must be residing offshore for at least past 3 months, and you should have a valid skills assessment for an occupation on the group. Now, this is the minimum requirement. Now, in addition to that, in last financial year, NSW introduced experience requirements for few occupations. Now, that included most of IT occupations, that included trade occupations, that included few other occupations as well. Okay. Now, NSW, so where work experience is required, it has to be minimum 3 years of work experience in related or closely related occupation. Now, The question that most of you might have in your mind is that does that 3 years experience has to be in Australia or overseas? It can be anywhere, but it has to be in your nominated occupation. And NSW do accept minimum 20 hours per week work experience as a skilled employment. Now, I will like to comment on this part. So 3 years experience requirement for most of the IT applicants has been, IT applicants have seen they have been very stressful about this because NSW, they think that these conditions were a bit harsh for them. Now, look, the reason is because that there was an uncertainty around how economic situation will be in the country post pandemic and during pandemic. So they made few policies, in my opinion, they made few policies just to first attract best people with more experience who can, come and be employed. But coming financial year, as immigration, as depart in the budget, or they announce seats for new financial year, and all the states or regions are getting extra seats as compared to last year. Okay, now last year allocation for 190 will be increased to 20,000. So that is up from 11,200 that was initially allocated. Now, if it is 20,000, then you can, and NSW got around 4,000, 4,000 seats for 190. Now, in next financial year, or this financial year, which has started just now, NSW, looking into pro rata basis, NSW is expected to get more seats as per the previous, if I look into previous allocations. And for 491, seats got increased to 25,000 from 11,200. So which means NSW seats are likely to be doubled than they had in last financial year. Now, it's not relevant, but 189 visa seats are also increasing from 6,000 to 16,000. So if seats are increasing, the advantage is then the pressure on 190 or 491 will be reduced. So people who are eligible for 491 will be applying for 491. People with high points or good profiles will go for 189, and pressure on 190 will reduce. That's what my opinion is, and that's what I am, I am hoping that this will be the possible outcome. And if that happens, this work experience requirement might be removed or might be reduced, or we might see some other changes around this criteria. So that is based on my opinion, and the fact that number of allocation for 190 and 491 and 189 visa is increasing from has increased from 1st July. Now we are still waiting for NSW to announce it and tell us that how much allocation they have got for this financial year. So some of the key steps for NSW are you have to make sure that your visa subclass is on Department of Home Affairs website. Of course, it's 190, so that's very general. You complete EOI, wait for the invitation. NSW conducts round on ongoing basis. There are no set dates. Sometimes there are 2 rounds in a month. Sometimes there is no round in 1 month. So you have to patiently wait for invitation rounds. Now, another thing that we have seen with NSW is that sometimes they do pick up, and there will be a couple of rounds where they will pick up more engineers, and then there will be a few rounds where they'll pick up more IT professionals. So NSW keep wearing their, so it's not like more, like with other states, for example, Canberra, and that they have set dates for invitation rounds. It's not same with NSW. So they do pick up occupations throughout the year and depending on their need, basically. So once you are invited, you have to lodge nomination application, and then you are then you receive invite to lodge a visa application, and then you submit visa application with Department of Home Affairs. Now, this is something that I wanted to point out, like I pointed out for 491 as well. So few of the a few common reasons that applicants do get denied for 190 is they claim points for CCL, but their CCL has expired, or they have claimed points for professional year when they were not eligible. No, the rule for professional year, I saw one question related to that, so I'll answer it here. So your professional year must be in your nominated or closely related occupation. So for example, if you have lodged EOI for mechanical engineer and your professional year was in IT, you cannot claim points. However, if you have lodged EOI for mechanical engineer and your professional year was in engineering, then you can lodge, you can claim points. And many applicants I have seen, consulted many clients who claim points for skilled employment before the date they were deemed to claim points. And that specifically happens with IT applicants. Now, and in many cases, applicants do not meet residency requirement, or the work that they are doing is not for 20 hours per week, or they are not gainfully employed, or and they cannot prove their residence in NSW. No, there are clients who move to NSW, or applicants who move to NSW, but they did not use, they did not get, let's say, lease agreement. So lease agreement is not compulsory here, but any sort of evidence is good. Let's say getting photo IDs or driver's license here, your car registration, insurance, then updating your address on all documents, let's say bank statements, ATO, etc. And then your bank transactions or those things show that you have been living here. So, so you should have combination of all these documents to prove your residence. Now, so basically, this you can leave us a review for this session. And that was all for my 190. Just one thing I want to add here is that again, I want to reiterate that again at the end of the meeting presentation is that all these requirements that I've discussed were last year, and for future coming year, we are waiting for NSW to get allocation. But if you ask me, my outlook or my opinion is that we will expect, more positive news from NSW now, on the grounds that they might be getting more seats in this financial year as compared to what they had in last financial year. And if they use their allocated seats, or if they invite, or they fill their quota, then of course you will see a lot of invitations from NSW. So fingers crossed, and thank you everyone for attending. I'll take questions now. If you have any questions, you can, as I said, leave it in the chat box, and I'll take questions from there. So Akashdeep, look for 491. You have asked that is you are developer programmer, and is it worth for you to stay in NSW for 491 stream 3? Now for stream 3, it's highly competitive, there is no doubt. But since you are already staying here, I will advise you to wait for a few more weeks and see what requirements come up. If NSW give another, like if there is another stream announced, or maybe they can give benefit to applicants who have been living there. So I would advise you to hold and wait there for now, and decide once all the states have announced their allocation and requirements, of course. So Ayush, yeah, so this was the question that I was addressing in professional year point. So now you can claim points for professional. So you are electronics engineer, and you have two assessments. So he has two assessments for other viewers. Applicant has two assessments: electronics engineer and telecom engineer. Now he can claim professional year points in both, because they both are engineering occupations. So professional year is done in engineering, IT, or accounting. It's not in telecom engineering or that. Your internship can be in one particular part, but you can claim points in this scenario. So that's the answer for you, Ayush. Amar, uh, that question is not really relevant to this, but then it depends which occupation you have applied for. And, and of course, with applicants, there can be TRA can take 2 to 3 months. Yeah, so Matloob, you are working in regional NSW for 6 months, and you mentioned that your points are quite low. So my recommendation for you will be to, first thing is, yes, try to get high points. by doing PT, NATI if you are single, or if you're partner, by trying for partner skills assessment, partner English. So your first target should be to increase your points. At the same time, I will advise you to keep 491 as a backup option. And if you don't have high points, then you might not get invite for 190. Now in NSW, cutoff for production engineer has been around 85 to 90 points off your own. And state points are on top. So we have seen few rounds where production engineer were invited at less points, but generally you need 85 to 90 at least. So Akash, I've answered your question, so you can refer to that. So MS, there is no date yet from NSW on updated requirements. And for year 2020 to 2023, as per this morning, they are still waiting. We are still waiting for them to update that. But these are the requirements for last year, and I have given my insight. What do I think next year can bring? Yes, Akashdeep, that's correct. They do require, so as per the last update, they put that 3 years experience requirement for some occupations in stream 2 and 3. As I said, these are the last year's requirement. You just wait for some time, see what NSW brings up for this year, and then make your decision. Okay, so Nitesh, your question is that, so this good question that you have to be working in your profession to apply for 190 or points. Now it depends mostly on your occupation. If you're from IT, you need points and you need work experience as well. Now this requirement applies to both onshore and offshore applicants. Now, if NSW removes work experience requirement, then you don't necessarily need it for IT. But there are certain other occupations, let's say engineers are there. They don't require 3 years experience, for example. They don't need to be working in their field to be nominated. For example, teachers are there or nurses are there. So it depends on occupation wise and your point. So for all occupations, point computation and is different, and the number of invites that NSW issues is different. Yeah, so look, agriculture consultant is definitely a good occupation. But if that comes into the occupation list, still NSW will look into points, and NSW prefers applicants who are working, although it's not a requirement. But so if someone is agriculture consultant, I will advise them to look for a job, keep 491 as a backup option, try to get high points, be in the queue for 190 and 491 simultaneously, so you don't miss out any option. Okay, so MS, you are working in so regional NSW for 3 months. So if I look into last year's requirements, because you have 3 years experience as well, so you will be eligible under stream 3. Sorry, stream 1, my bad. No, but for stream 1, main thing that you have to keep in mind is that it's for accountant, it's a bit competitive. Now, so when NSW initially announced, we received a lot of invites for our clients who lodged 491 under stream 1, even though they had just 3 to 6 months work experience. However, once they, went closer to financial end of financial year, that decreased. Now, because NSW is getting more seats, my prediction is that yes, your chances will become good because you have 3 years experience as well. So my advice to you will be to continue staying there, keep on working in your nominated occupation, and wait for NSW to announce 491 requirements. That is your best option. Look, 105 points, Chinab, depending on your experience. Yes, you can be invited at 105 points. We received few invites in last financial year, in last 5, 6 months, if I say. But in those cases where you have 105 points, NSW will look into years of work experience. So applicants who have more work experience will be invited first. But yes, depending on the quota, that this is a good score. Look, so Urvish, I can tell you about NSW region. If you have a job, you can apply for 491 from NSW under Stream 1. And of course, you can look for other states or regions options as well. You can attend other sessions where they will be discussing other states' requirements. So you'll get answer to your question in terms of other states and regions as well. Ayush, I have answered okay, half of your question. That's okay. So likelihood of telecom engineer being invited, Ayush, it depends on your points. Okay, if you have higher points, your chances of getting invited will be higher. And telecom engineer, uh, like so for engineers, that it has been a bit competitive lately. But if you have 95 points in next financial year and you have work experience, your chances of getting invited will be good. If you don't have those many points, then you might have less chances for NSW 190. You might want to consider 491 option in such case. So Sam, if you have been living in regional for 2 years and you are working or not working, I'm not sure. So if you are working in your nominated occupation, of course, your chances will be good. And the other thing is which pharmacist. So there is retail pharmacist, industrial pharmacist, hospital pharmacist, there is pharmacy technician occupation. So depends on which occupation have you got skills assessment in. So for all occupations, requirement will be different. But if you have been living there, stay there for some time, see what NSW, what rule NSW brings up, and then make your decision. Mahesh, that's a very good question, actually. So this government will announce budget in October because last budget was announced by previous government. Now, look, it depends on allocation. We will definitely have an idea once states do get their allocation. Okay, if the signs are positive, then I will advise you to follow that for now and not wait for October necessarily, but it depends on case to case. So we might expect some more changes after October as well, depending on new government's budget. So which region is good for mechanical engineer? Look, SP, first thing I will advise you is to look for a job. If you have job in your field, doesn't matter which region are you working in, you will qualify under stream 1. Okay, so for stream 1, I always recommend all my clients and everyone that if you should look for a job in your nominated occupation in any region, that should be your number one priority. If you're not getting job, then you come to stream 3 and then you look for which region has opened up your occupation. Now that we'll have to see what new lists will come and which regions will be sponsoring mechanical engineer. But it's a good occupation. It's generally open where the industry is. So maybe Wollongong, Newcastle, but again, they have a quota, so they cannot invite more than what they need in those occupations. So I would say wait for that. Uh, would NSW marketing specialist look got closed for 190 in last financial year, and it was open a couple of years back, but then it got closed. They might bring that again for 190. So it's best that if again, as I said, you wait for the new list and then decide. Otherwise, if NSW does not have that option, you can consider Canberra. You can consider ACT, you can consider Queensland, you can consider other states for your 190 or 491 option. Anirudh, you are doing nursing from NSW region, so Newcastle. No, that's a very good option. You can still get 190 or 491. So, in my opinion, if you can get good points as well, your 190 chances will be really high. So you can continue with that. You can still be eligible for 491. Keep 491 as a backup and try for 190 by gaining high points. So it's you are on right track, in my opinion. Kavya, for 190 computer network engineer, look, that's I have to check, but as per I remember, 90 applicant who had 95 plus 5 points were definitely invited, and few of the applicants who had 90 points of their own plus 5 points from state were invited as well. But all of them or most of them had work experience. Look, Gayatri, you have to wait for NSW to release the requirements. If work experience requirement is still there, for 190 with 85 points, it will be, of course, impossible for you to get 190. But for 491, if something else comes up like stream and or you can get job in regional NSW in your field, that's better. If you cannot get either, then I will recommend you to move to other states. Yeah, so Mahesh, your chances will be really good in my opinion with this profile because you have 3 years experience, you have good points. So the only thing is that you're completing 3 years in July. So, if you had completed it earlier, you could have done that as well. So Sam, if you haven't started working yet, you can lodge ROI under stream 3. You can have good chances under that, but I will still recommend you to look for a job because stream 3 is highly competitive. If you get job even for 3 months, minimum 20 hours per week, your chances will be really high for pharmacist occupation. Ali, you have asked that. Yes. So regarding CCL, it's NSW's policy. They don't accept after 3 years. Okay. As per legislation, there is yes. So as legislation, there is no end date. Like there is nowhere mentioned that it's 3 years in legislation. So that's why Mr. Viva would have suggested you to that it's does not have expiry. But when we are talking about NSW specifically, they do not accept after 3 years. That's their policy. NSW can have their own policy regarding different things. So I'm particularly talking about NSW in this scenario. So my time is ending soon. I have got a lot of questions to answer. I'll try to finish as much as I can. I'll leave my details. You can reach out to me, or you can reach out to your nearest, Aussizz office, and you can get answers from there as well. I'm trying to answer as many questions as possible. So, Maria, that's not the topic of my discussion about 186 and 186 labor agreement stream, but both are permanent resident visa. Both have separate eligibility criterias. So you might would like to attend a session on employer sponsored visa. You'll get answer there. Shine, in that case, if you are targeting PR, then I think MB or MPA has options, but it gets very tricky. You can still get PR through those by studying in, for example, in regional NSW in Northern Territory or some states. But generally, looking into profile, we can recommend other study options as well if you are interested in studying those. So in your case, I will advise you to take a detailed consultation so you can get answer to all your queries. Akashdeep 491 experience for 3 years can be added for 190 or 491. It was there for 491 as well for stream 3. But stream 1, there was no 3 years experience requirement. For 190, for few occupations, 3 years requirement was there. Ayush, yes, it can be still considered, as I told you earlier. So because it's in the occupation list, yeah. So MS, I've answered your question already. I hope that's clear to you. Agriculture consultant, Nitesh, I've answered that as well. Mehul, you will not be eligible for 190 as of current rules because you do not have 3 years experience, but I will advise you to wait. For 491, you can be eligible under stream 3 if that comes up again, like with similar requirements and they remove 3 years experience. Otherwise, you'll have to apply under stream 1 only, which means you'll have to go move to region, work there for 3 months, and then apply for 491 under stream 1. So minimum points for 491 are 50 and for 190 are 60. For 491, even you can expect an invite at minimum points as well if you are applying under stream 1. So for state-wise SP, I'm discussing NSW. You have options here. Of course, you can attend other sessions where we'll discuss requirements in all other states as well. Now we have answered your question. Yeah, for Joshua, your point is not clear to me. What's the estimated duration for duration EA uses if an applicant? So look, that your question is not that clear. Unfortunately, I won't be able to answer that. So look, Ajay, so painting and painters is an occupation list. Okay. Now, once you complete your studies, you have to get skills assessment and then you can look for 190 or 491. Now, NSW, again, if they add 3 years requirement, you have to work 3 years to become eligible. If they don't add that, then you can become eligible even after 1 year after completing your job ready program. Now, for you, my advice will be if you can consider 491 in NSW, or you can consider 190 in other states by meeting their criteria. Abhishek, engineering technologists have received invites recently at even 90 plus 5 points as well with work experience. Look, there are no maximum or point requirement for any occupation. So similar for early childhood teacher, but my advice will be to target at least 85 points of or more of your own. Plus, of course, state points will be there on top of that. So everyone, I my time is up. There are other sessions that are starting soon. I will leave my email address and here. So if you have any question that is left, you can email me and I'll try to answer. But if it is, so try to keep it concise. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. I'm just leaving my email address in chat box. So thank you everyone for attending this session, and I hope we will come up with a new once NSW requirements are updated. We will definitely be updating you on a live session. You'll be welcome. We'll welcome you to attend that session as well. And now I request you to, there are other sessions going on. You can join those. You can learn about other state origin requirements, like many of the applicants have asked questions related to those. So thank you again, everyone, for attending, and I hope this was helpful.